Hey, ADNC family. I hope all is well. Happy Friday. It is Friday, and we are back,
For sure.
Tej and I, for Facts Only Friday.
Facts only, y'all. That's what we do here.
How you doing, Ted? Tej.
Listen,
Sorry.
I've been traveling. I just came back from the continent. Went over to Europe for a while. Never been to Europe before, so a lot going on. And America looked crazier from over there than it looked when you in it. So I got a whole new perspective I got to share for sure.
Well, when you say it looked crazier, what do you mean when you say America looked crazier? Give an
I,
example.
I'll put like this. I went to Senegal, Gambia, and then London. All three of those countries are more peaceful and cohesive than us. I watched the news in all three of them countries, even though it was hard for Senegal because it was in French, so I read the subtitles. And their news cycle isn't as toxic. Their news cycle doesn't have the kind of divisions, the kind of infighting that you see in Parliament. In Parliament over there, like you see in Congress over here, which we're about to discuss. I was in functioning societies, various levels of development. Gambia is at one level, London's at a different level, but they have more peace in those places than we have here. And it was just interesting to feel that contrast.
Well, I am African, so I can
Right.
I can totally attest to what you experience. That's why I always say people just need to get out and
You get
travel
out.
and
Right.
be
Got travel.
open. And you'd be surprised at how
Right.
much you learn and how beautiful everything is. And it really
Mhm.
does give perspective on where you are. I mean, I know even for me, when I go to Ghana and I come back to Canada, it's like,
Right.
let us
Right.
just like literally let me just pack up and just not come back. That's what goes through, my body, my soul afterward. So I totally get it.
Yeah, one thing I'll quickly say about Africa is it's Europe's Caribbean, meaning where do Europeans go to have palm trees, warm weather, and beaches? A lot of people don't realize that Africa is their vacation spot. So why don't we consider it as a vacation spot? It's peaceful, it's calm, and not only that, but for the most part, in the general body politic immediately, they're self-sovereign. And I know there's the economic control component that we're working on to get free from, but the majority black thing, you really feel it over there.
Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir.
Right,
I
right, right. But I don't know what
100%.
I've been told.
Sorry, you froze for a second. What was that?
I said I don't know who I'm preaching to out there, but Africa is more than what y'all been told. You just got to know that.
Indeed. Indeed. And just one thing I just wanted to touch on before we really get into this conversation is you said that Africa is Europeans Caribbean.
That's their
And
Caribbean,
you
yeah.
forgot to mention one more thing that they go there for.
What's that?
Oh, that chocolate man.
Listen, that look, sex tourism is a thing, and a lot of times be European women. And they be over there, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna get too graphic, but we all grown and we understand what they be there for. You know what I'm saying? And
That's
then
it.
yeah. So
But yeah,
anyway,
like you said, that's a whole other topic for
that's
a
a whole
whole
other
other day.
conversation. If we get into it, if y'all say so, we're gonna get into it. Go ahead and tell us in the comments if you want to get into that. Yeah, I mean,
Exactly. Let's go. Okay, so today's topic, we're going to talk about oh boy, Jeremy Carl.
this dude.
Jeremy Carl, Trump's pick for a
Right,
senior State Department role. I can't even.
right.
Okay. This man is an outstanding racist. Like
Right.
outstanding. But
High
again,
marks.
who appointed him, like literally, like
Right.
what can we expect? But anyhow, during one of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearings, he had this to say about white culture. Let's just have a look.
Right.
Erased about white identity.
Certain types of Anglo derived culture that comes from our history.
Like what?
Let me think about this. Senator, I would say if you were to look at the book by one of your former Senate colleagues, Born Fighting, about the sort of Scotch-Irish military culture and certain, pride that went with that, that would be one example. Obviously, you could have sub-elements of that culture. You could have Italians, you could have Irish, and those are in many ways more.
Yeah, but you're worried about white culture. You're not worried about, you're now retreating to ethnic identity. You don't speak about ethnic identity. You speak about white identity. So tell me the values that stitch together white identity and that make it different than black identity.
I would say that the white church is very different than the black church in terms of its tone and style on average. Foodways could often be different.
And those
music could be different.
And those are being erased.
Music could be different. Well, if you look at the Super Bowl halftime show, which was not in English this year.
So our ability to access white churches or white food or white music is being erased?
I am concerned with the majority common American culture that we had for some time that through particularly mass immigration, I think has become much more balkanized, and I think that weakens us. And again, I'm not running away from that comment. I'm not apologizing for it.
Well, I'm way over my time. I think you're struggling to answer this question, right? Because underlying your beliefs is a sentiment that white culture is just simply better.
You take it away first, Tej.
Listen, when you say white culture, what most of the time they're talking about is the white majority. Most of the time, when they are afraid of new cultures, they're projecting their fear of being replaced because they replaced the Native Americans when it comes to how they got a majority white nation in the first place. Because in 1491, this place was 0% white, if we're going to be honest. So white people have not existed for most, and I mean like most, of the history that humans have been in America, in the Americas. Most of the time, they have not been white. And so whiteness is a construct, man. It's an identity that the Scots-Irish that he mentioned actually didn't belong to at first, if we're going to be honest. The Italians that he mentioned didn't belong to that white culture at first. The walls of whiteness have moved. It has been adapted to fit whatever the demographics that are needed to create a white majority needed at the time. So a lot of these Europeans, the Poles, the Jews, the Italians, the Scots, the Irish, right? The Latvians and Lithuanians, they were outside of the white club until World War II, when they needed to expand the definition. And those immigrants that came between the 1850s and let's say the 1930s were assimilated into whiteness to hold on to that majority in the great great 1950s economic expansion post World War II. So that's what he's talking about. And their culture isn't even that fun. Their kids know that. That's why their kids do our culture. Like that's like you ain't never seen a bunch of black kids on TikTok doing a dance that originated with the white kids in the suburbs. It's always been that their culture, regardless, adapts, assimilates, and takes what they like from the cultures that they have subjugated.
And I was just about to say, like, what really is their culture in the grand scheme of things? Even if you look at what's supposed to be their culture, their dances and their food and all that other stuff, what really, in the grand scheme of things, going all the way back to inventions and everything else, putting their name on everything and taking our name off, or just doing little tweaks to it and then saying, we invented this. At the end of the day, if you were to go all the way back, every single thing traces back to black people, period.
It just is what it is. And it's and black people, and let's be honest about black origins. We didn't start this competition. We didn't start this measuring competition. That has to be clear. You see, a lot of times, and I've seen even other melanated peoples get upset when black origins are brought up. It's not black people's fault that the classification of black was put upon those who fit the description. And two, it's not those people who fit that description of black's fault for being the first ones on earth. So people were doing people things, and those people happened to be Black. People happened to be exploring. People happened to be building and discovering mathematics, and those people just happened to be Black. And then when the classification of Black was created, and then those people were othered, they had to find the fact that there were humans doing human things, and that they were outside of what the white supremacists deemed to be human, and had to relinquish the origin story to us by admission of who started things. But Black people didn't want to be first. We just were first, and we were doing human things. And that's how that happened.
We were first.
We were first. And,
We were
that's
first. The
okay.
very first man and woman came from where?
From Africa. And that's okay. That's all right. If you are somebody who's offended by that, the facts don't care about your feelings. That's just what the facts say.
The ones who care or are bothered by it, it's just the ugly truth that they just can't, deal with. But going back to this Jeremy Carl, I haven't moved on from two things. First, Mr. Murphy said he's struggling. He was really struggling.
He was struggling. That was a struggle bus answer. Everybody know that.
Man, he was struggling. Oh, let me see. Let me think about this. Let me just see. Because if we were to ask, what do you feel is being erased?
Right.
They can't even attribute one thing to themselves other than the color of their skin that they feel is great replacement theory. That was the first thing. And then secondly, he was talking about food and Black churches, and I'm listening to him. I'm like, what are you, dude? Like,
ain't nobody stopping you from making casserole. Go ahead and make you some casserole, brother.
And the boiled chicken, and
get you some boiled chicken, man. Get you some mayonnaise.
Nobody's in your way.
Nobody making that go away. People are preferring other things, and I think that's what's upsetting them. When exposed to other things, the seasonings and flavors of life, people just go toward those seasonings and flavors of life. And talking about it's so interesting that he brings up Scotch-Irish heritage, because I don't know no white folks doing Scotch-Irish dances.
None.
I don't know no white folks. Like, I've seen Scotch-Irish dances. That's that river dance where they go up and they be whimsically skedaddling in this mug. You know what I'm saying? I don't know no whimsical skedaddlers out here. You know what I'm saying? So it's just not a thing. It's just not the thing. When it is always code word for fear of losing the white majority, but it has nothing to do with actual cultural practices that are just intrinsic to white people that are being forcefully taken away by somebody else.
Exactly. And I still haven't moved on from the fact that this is somebody that's supposed to be nominated for a senior Senate role.
Right.
And he could barely see. He looked like, when I tell you the flop sweat that was happening there, in that while he sat there, I was like,
flop sweat, Emma. Flop sweat.
I was like, somebody please get this man a rag. Let him, something and put underneath his tushy on the chair, because he was a hot mess express. But then he had to go through it with Cory Booker. So Cory Booker grilled him, and let us just watch. And I may stop in between because there may be some things that I want to address right on the spot, and you may want to as well, Ted. So let us start.
Let's go.
You think one race is superior than another race on the planet Earth?
Senator, absolutely not.
Do you regret any other comments about any other races?
Senator, you would have to reference a certain comment, but I'm certainly not a perfect person, and I'm sure that I've made...
Do you regret any of your comments about Latino Americans?
Senator, I'm sure that if you read me every single comment I'd made about a group, there would be some that, upon consideration...
So you stipulate for this body that you have in your past made comments about Jews and Latinos and perhaps blacks that you perhaps regret?
Senator, as a Calvinist who believes that we're all infinitely sinful and only redeemed through grace...
See, sir, we're sending you into a very diverse world.
Yeah.
And you can't say unequivocally that America, it doesn't matter what our racial makeup is. You believe it matters what the racial makeup of America is.
Senator,
Do you believe it matters, yes or no, what the racial makeup of America is?
Senator, to echo President Trump, I believe
I don't want you
unity
to
rather
echo
than diversity.
President Trump. I want you to answer my question, yes or no. Does it matter what the racial makeup of America is?
Senator, I'll stand on my comment. Thank you.
What's your comment? Answer the question, yes or no.
Echoing President Trump, I believe unity rather than diversity is a strength.
I'm just going to stop there for a second, because in the first one we watched, he pretty much dug his heels in. He was unapologetic about it. So the fact
I believe unity rather than diversity is a strength. Go. All right, yeah. What you think about that comment, Emma? I believe unity as opposed to diversity is a strength.
Well,
What you think about
the
that?
thing is, what are you? Who are you talking about when you say unity? To me, you're only talking about unity with your people.
Right. Like, unity can mean a myriads of different things, but what I've heard white supremacists refer to is the functionality of places like Switzerland, Sweden, Japan, and China, who are ethnically homogenous. And they like to point to that as to being why these countries function. But what they failed to point out is what makes America dysfunctional is not the diversity of people here, but what the majority has made to do to those people who are not like the majority. That's dysfunctional. And there was a Citigroup study done, and I need everybody to go ahead and reference this one. And I because y'all need to correct me. Maybe it's not, maybe my numbers are fuzzy. But a Citigroup study said that America loses about $16 trillion in revenue every 20 years, just on anti-Black discrimination alone. What does that mean? Because America focuses on anti-Black discrimination, that's underdevelopment of human potential in redline communities. It's underdevelopment of human potential when you invest in mass incarceration rather than rehabilitation. That all has a cumulative effect. It's not the presence of the people who are not fitting the description of the majority. It's what America has invested in underdeveloping those folks, because every time you do that, you're underdeveloping other Americans. Black people are Americans, right? And so the diversity's presence is not the issue. It's the investment in the racial hierarchy that's weakening America. But if you talk to a sports team, there's white boys on the team, brothers on the team, big old Samoans on the team. You talking about the football, they're unified. And the reason they're unified is because they have a common goal, and they have defined their in-group as the members of the team, not as members of a race. So if there is disunity, it is fully on the shoulders of the white majority, who has violently underdeveloped the people who don't fit their description. So do like you tell Black folks and take some personal responsibility for that, sir. Take some responsibility for what you have done to people who don't fit the majority's description, because that's what's causing the disunity and no other thing.
And when he's saying that, he is fully only referring to those that look like him.
Of course.
And he's saying that unity, that because this has been his talking points. He is about the folks. So,
And more folks.
So throwing that word, touting that word unity is not going to work, because you're not talking about uniting those United States of America. That's not what he's referring to.
Right. And hold on, see, this is something I told a white supremacist one day, because, I used to go directly back and forth with them quite a bit, and I had built part of my platform because of that. But name me a time when Europe was unified. Because the last I checked, every sword movie you ever seen, whether it's Troy or Braveheart, happened in Europe. The Dark Ages, that was Europe. So y'all was swinging swords at each other before a brother was in sight, before a Latino was in sight, before a Venezuelan was in sight. When I saw the movie Braveheart, that put together white unity for me. When I watched Braveheart, there's a scene in Braveheart where they go into this barn, and all of these Scotsmen have been hung from the rafters, lynched by the Brits. And I said, oh, we took this personally. They better, all they needed was a dividing line. Because those Scots-Irish he talked about was very much subjugated by the English and Welshmen who founded America, right? So there hasn't been no white unity when black folks wasn't present. That very history that they say is a Middle East war since time immemorial. No, brother, that's Europe. And the only thing that brought peace to Europe was the thermonuclear warhead. When destruction became boundless, they had to negotiate, and no time before that.
And that is true. And when you're talking about movies, even like The Patriot, again, they were fighting each other. Like, I mean, the list goes on. And you know, you even say they're fiction, but they're really not. It's not fiction.
It's not. Come on, man. In fact, see, black folks, we got a soft spot for unity within ourselves now. You know what I'm saying, man? Man, we got to get it together, brother. We got to unify. And I would say, be graceful with yourself, black person. Be graceful with yourself. You know why? Because you can name me the largest black on black conflict. Name it, right? Is it Bloods versus Crips? Is it Chi-Town in the summertime? Is it Hutus and Tutsis? Name it. Our largest black on black violent bloodshed was Hutus versus Tutsis, Rwanda, 1994. 1 million died. That's bad. But that's nothing compared to what white folks have done to each other in World War I and World War II. They have been disunified from most of their history. They've only unified when it came to hurting us. But they have not been unified with one another. With no black folks present, they chopped each other's head off. None.
That is facts. And again, these are facts that they don't want to accept. They just, you know, gaslight and project. And it's right. Black people. Anyhow, let's continue to listen to this and I'll probably stop again.
All right, cool.
What do you mean when you say that you believe in the Great Replacement theory?
This refers to the intentional demographic replacement of Europeans in Europe. It was invented by Renaud Camus, who was a French scholar.
You think there's an active effort to, quote unquote, replace Americans right now?
I feel like Cory should have been more specific. He's saying Americans. Just call it what it is.
Right, let's go.
Senator, I think the Democratic Party, through its immigration policies, has certainly shown signs of that.
And I don't understand that. So you are saying that if more Americans are black or Latino Americans, that somehow weakens America because it puts whites in a minority.
Senator, I never said anything like that, nor do I actually believe that. I want to be very clear that regardless of country, if people generally share more in common,
can I read you what you've said? Because it sounds like this. You said the Great Replacement is real, and they are going to try to make you pay for it. Who is they?
I simply don't know from you reading that one isolated comment.
So this is the problem. You make the most incendiary comments that you admit that you regret about Jews, about Latinos, about blacks. And you sit here and say that you do not have a worldview, that somehow our country is weakened based upon the populations of each. In fact, you say in your writings that it is a threat to the United States of America and create an us versus them. And the only interpretation I can have of us versus them is it's white people against others, which sounds deeply racist to me. That somehow you think our country's greatness depends upon its ethnic diversity as long as white people have more numbers than others. That does not sound like a nation that was founded with the belief that all people are created equal and equal before the eyes of God. It sounds like you have a racial hierarchy. There's no way for me to read this in any other way.
Senator,
because you have said our country, based upon religious diversity, based upon ethnic diversity, based upon racial diversity, you have indicated that somehow those make America weaker or stronger. That God forbid our nation grows in population, that then you suddenly say, I'm aggrieved, and they are trying to replace us. This is the United States of America. We are one nation under God, but you cut us up and divide us along racial lines.
Senator, respectfully, I do not think that they do.
You cannot use the word respectfully, because you do not respect me.
Oh,
you
no,
look
actually,
upon
I do.
me as my color of my skin. You say holidays like Juneteenth are racial hustles. Don't come here and hustle me.
Senator,
you have said statements that other nations are going to look upon you and read plainly. When you go to a country of a different religion or ethnicity, you have discriminated against others, and then you claim yourself as a victim. Mr. Chairman, I've never seen such a blatantly racist individual who doesn't even deny that he's made these statements, but wants to tell us that he regrets them. And the last thing I want to say, I watched people beat others when they attacked the Capitol, viciously attack police officers. And you say those violent felons, you literally have said that they were treated worse than people during Jim Crow. When thousands of Americans were lynched, murdered, beaten, and killed, you equate Capitol Hill rioters with receiving worse treatment than Americans during Jim Crow, that you would equate those people to the folks that were victimized and terrorized by white nationalist organizations like the KKK. Sir, you have no decency. You have no honor. You say inflammatory things because it thinks it will ingratiate you to those who are paying your salary. And you sit here before me and try to wrap yourself in the American flag? Well, I believe in this nation. I believe in the principles. I believe in those who fought and died for our country. You disgrace that legacy and the ideals that we all swear an oath to uphold, that does not believe in one nation for one people and another people. Dear God, I pray for us if we let somebody like you represent us to the diverse nations of the world as representing the values of our country.
I feel like I was at a battle rap. Bars. Bars. Woo! I feel like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, what's that on the beat? Oh, beat, oh. Say Drake.
That was the most epic dress down. I mean, I'm just going to go back to when he said respectfully he had the nerve to use the word respectfully. He's like,
you don't respect me.
No, because you don't respect me.
You don't respect me
for the color of my skin. And he's like, yes, I do actually. No, you don't, dude. He's been saying so. This guy was a political commentator.
Right.
Going around saying this. And again, Cory Booker just said Americans when he was talking about the Jim Crow reference. Let us keep it what it is. It's black people. It was black people. Not when you say Americans, that's broad. It wasn't Americans during Jim. It wasn't Americans. Okay, it was black people. I just and then oh my goodness. And then when he told him that he's got no decency, he has no honor, and the fact that somebody who thinks this way and talks this way with his whole chest, somebody that's going to be visiting all of these nations, how do you allow somebody like that in your country who thinks this way, who unapologetically puts that out there on a regular basis, thinking that, the white supremacy nation is going to be swallowed whole by Orca, the black whale, right?
Right. Look, first of all, the line that had me like, he said, you call Juneteenth a race hustle. Don't sit up here and try to hustle me. I was like, bars, facts and bars. Let's start off with the idea that the Democrats are pulling a great replacement by bringing in a bunch of illegal migrants to work. That's that's so obviously capped because illegal people can't vote. Like first and foremost,
all together, leave it out
like
all together.
like first and foremost, they can't vote, dog. Like, what are you talking about? The Democrats are smuggling in voters and then signing them up. They can't vote. And a lot of black people believe that too. You'll see them in the comments. Yeah, the Democrats are trying to replace us. Now, black people have a different concern because in American hierarchy, Latinos have been preferred over us. Claude Anderson talks about that. And I want to put that to the side for a second while I address the white supremacist concern, because black folks do have a legitimate concern. But let's talk about the white supremacist concern first. The idea that Democrats are literally intentionally bringing Latinos in from third world countries to replace them and outnumber them as voters is not true. What's happening is, right, it literally wouldn't work because they can't vote, right? What they can do is pay taxes, however. And we found that, like, as a net, when you look at how much money has been aggregated from 1994 to like 2014, undocumented workers have paid in considerably more than they have taken out of the public pie. That's just facts, right? Because even when they work and get paid under the table, they still have small tax forms that they actually have to fill out that they pay. And not only that, but when they buy goods and services, those are also taxed. So they actually contribute tax revenue more because they're not paid that much. So that's another thing that people have to think about. And the next thing is, they wouldn't be here if we just leave them alone. This is always lost on people. This always kills me, right? And I'm going to take this to the statement of Muammar Gaddafi. He stated this before the United Nations, before Obama, the Democrat, toppled him via a coup via a NATO insurgents. But Muammar Gaddafi says, if Libya falls, Europe will turn black. If Libya falls, Europe will turn black. And that's exactly what happened. 4 years after Muammar Gaddafi is murdered in 2011, you have the Brexit situation in Britain because all of these Africans went north. And that's the same thing that happened here in the Americas, Latin America. Listen, from Salvador Allende to, Che Guevara, to all of these Latino leaders who wanted to stay in their own dang countries. They wanted to stay there. But the problem was the United Fruit Company, you can look this up, it's the original UFC, the United Fruit Company, ended up joining forces with America to get decommissioned gunboats to go down there and force contracts and do coups to overturn these duly elected socialist leaders who wanted to nationalize these Latin American resources. And America was like, no, we ain't gonna have that. We're gonna have cheap bananas. And when they did that, they put in puppet leaders that were always friendly to United States interests, but brutalized the people, starved the people, raped and exploited the people. So what happened? They leave. They go. And where do they go? Well, the place with the best marketing. We went and told the world we were life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Bring us, you're poor, you're tired, you're hungry, you're downtrodden. They bring them here, but had American foreign policy for 100 plus years not toppled Latin American rulers, there wouldn't be no Latinos trying to come up here. Have you been to Latin America? The weather is wonderful. The weather is wonderful. We go to Latin America. Oh man, it feels great down there. The whole countries would have been looking like resorts. These people wouldn't have had a reason to come. Shoot, if I had air conditioning everywhere in Mexico, if I had air conditioning everywhere in Honduras and Venezuela, look what we just did. I said, if Trump is going to kidnap their leader, he better be prepared for the next wave of Venezuelan migrants coming. So that's what's causing it. And they don't never want to talk about that. They only want to talk about how socialism doesn't work. Bro, it doesn't work when you kill all the socialist leaders. Yeah, it doesn't work, right? That's why socialism doesn't work, because you sabotage it, right? But had they left these places alone, would none of these people be coming here? The weather's too good. And so is the fruit. It's delicious.
And, listen, we have to just understand one thing. And when I say we, I'm talking about we as Black people.
Right.
Is that who built that country?
Right. Listen, from Mexico, look, we all know that Spain started the slave trade before England did. We know that. Mexico, all of Latin America, especially Brazil, was built physically by black people. Built physically by black. I'm talking about physically. And that's why I called Shabuzi to a point of order about this immigrants built America. I was like, well, if immigrants built America, what were slaves building before they got here? Please tell me, right? And so they knew what they was doing when they got us. They seen how we work. They seen how strong we are and how disease resilient we are. So this is not to be debated. And black folks are right to assert a point of order when it comes to this narrative. But to the white supremacists, leave them alone. And they're not showing up. Right?
Exactly.
Just leave them alone. You be the one going down there. Shoot. You know how many American expats that I know living in Mexico right now? There's a lot of Americans leaving America because of people like him. There's a brain drain going on
in Mexico. So many. That's like the first stop.
That's the first stop. Shoot.
And their last stop. There's a lot of them going to Mexico. They are. I'm going to go over to the chat here. Uncle Kel says, let's go, Emma and Tej. We're going.
We going.
Low Key One-on-One says 1492 to you was the beginning of Western world democracy. 1492 to me was the beginning of white supremacy.
Show enough. Show enough now. Show enough.
Najai Kenon says, yeah, the seasonings and flavors. Yeah. Yes. Well, because we were talking about the culture and I mentioned the food,
people
right?
Are choosing black culture. They're choosing it when exposed.
Facts. You know what? I would even wager to say that Jeremy Carl has found himself in some Jamaican restaurant or something like that in the United States. How
much this curry golden was up. It was up for that, boy. He didn't want no more boiled goose after that.
And you know, it's the same way here, Tej. Like if you go to a West Indian restaurant, a Caribbean restaurant, Jamaican restaurant, you see more of the folks than you'll see black people in there.
I bet you do.
All the time.
They're keeping them open.
Even the African restaurants. You see most of them in there. You know why? Well, they know where it's at. They know where it's at.
Delicious.
Yes, exactly.
It's
delicious. Najakin said, just answer. Own that you said it and all that you said. Yeah, he wasn't. He would. You see, that's the thing. It's the gaslighting of it all. It's the, okay, I didn't know. That's not what I meant. And then when you're on the hot seat, you will never admit to saying it. I think there's only, even your president won't admit it.
Look,
I bet he was. I didn't say that. No, I'm the least.
Did I say that? I'm the least racist person. Nobody thinks I'm racist except for smart people. They don't think I'm racist. Here's what I bet he was thinking. I was like, God, why did we teach these Negroes to read? Why did we teach them to read? He's boiling me articulately. I said, man, listen. Here's what's really going on, in my opinion, on a higher level. I think that the universe always makes you face yourself in some way, shape, or form. If you put something out there, the universe mirrors it back to you. And so that was his mirror. Cory Booker, a black man, had to mirror back to him what these white statements were. And he couldn't take it. And he began to squirm, wiggle, gaslight, and try to elude and evade. Because he couldn't stand the reflection back to him that the brother Cory Booker was showing, like, this is who you are. This is what you have chosen to be. And I tell you, it's an awful waste of psychological resources to invest that in white supremacy. We got problems as a world, as a globe. We got rising waters, pollution. We got pedophiles eating babies. And we got, you know what I'm saying, wars upon rumors of wars. We need this intellectual capital invested in solving real human problems, not trying to keep a white majority. It's so stupid. And I think that's what
real human problems in our community.
Real human problems, man. And
that's where the shift needs to be, because, you know, I've said this moreover in many of my, you know, my reports is I'm saying, listen, we're not going anywhere.
We're not going nowhere.
We're not going anywhere.
You know,
it doesn't matter how much you sit on platforms, your own or others, and talk about this and talk about replacement and talk. We're not going anywhere.
And you know why?
We have been here.
We've been here, and low key, they don't want us to go anywhere. I thought about this one day. They don't want us to go anywhere. Why? Because they want us to be here for them to be better than. You see, that's the thing. When you create a caste system, it doesn't work if there's nobody at the bottom, right? They kept us alive and impoverished, struggled but not erased, just so that we could be there for them to be better than. Isabella Wilkerson wrote a great book about caste, the origin of our discontent. Ava DuVernay made a great movie about this called Origin. But when you study the American caste system, we, the Black Americans, were the untouchables, the Dalits, those who were less than human, yet kept around to be at the bottom, to occupy the role in the Easter play of Judas, to be the N-word, to be the one that was in contrast to their greatness. We are kept there to be beneath, and they want us there. They want somebody to be better than. They just also want it to be the numerical majority. I said they need to make love, not war. What y'all got on these new white babies? Y'all need to start making white babies. If you know what I'm saying? Well, y'all need hate groups. Y'all need some love groups.
It's declining.
Y'all need some love groups out here.
It's declining. But yes, and you know, you just said something. They want somebody to be better than.
Right.
And that speaks to your level of security.
Right.
If you are so focused and obsessed, and it's about us.
Right.
No other race of people.
Right.
You're concerned about us. So if you are so obsessed about us and feeling like the great replacement theory as it relates to us, that says something about your level of security, because why should you care?
Right.
You know, why should you care if I'm living in an area that is, I don't know, heavily populated by the folks?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not spending time obsessing about the fact that it's heavily populated by the folks unless I feel like my life and the life of my family is at stake because of how some of them can be. That's the
Right.
only. But to be concerned about them taking over, that's insecurity, that's fear, that's, you know, jealousy, that's envy, that's all of the things that we're not spending time focusing on.
Right. And this is something interesting that I learned about the folks. In my first experience with open-faced racism here in Colorado, I live in Colorado, y'all. And I went up to Breckenridge, Colorado. No shade to Breckenridge as a municipality, but I'm just telling you where I experienced this. All right, this is my honest truth. It's when it's the first time, and come on now, I was just barely 12 years old. I just barely had a little bass in my voice. I was just barely getting tall, and the locked doors. When I walked in, they suddenly wearing their kids. I walked into this one shop and this lady had a dog, and she looked at the dog and looked at me, looked at the dog, looked at me like, what you gonna do about this Negro walking in? And I realized something. Oh, they weren't white before I walked in. They were just people. The very presence of my blackness made them white, and they don't know how to be white. They just know how to be people. It was a very interesting thing. My presence contrasted their race, and they never thought about their race until they thought about mine. And so that's not my fault. That's that's their fault for what they've made race to be. And the construct that they have in their brain and in their subconscious, because sometimes it be in their subconscious, they be like, I don't have a racist bone in my body, because it's all in their subconscious. And they don't know they was racist until they had a racist crash out, called their neighbor a bucket of N-words because they screaming like a Karen and didn't even know that that was there, because their whole subconscious was programmed racist. But and that's what I realized up in Breckenridge. When I showed up as black as I am, my very presence contrasted a part of themselves that they never deal with. When it's just white people, they get to be Bob and Sally.
Yeah.
But when I show up, they're like, oh, Bob and Sally are white because this black dude here is black. He's not like us. And so now I have to be this thing, and I don't know how to be white. I just know how to be Bob and Sally. That's what was interesting.
Lack of identity.
Right. Lack of identity.
Culture. Yep.
Right.
Yep. And you you are a reminder, a stark reminder of what they don't possess. And that's what goes back again to that insecurity. There's a
Right.
very, and to your point about, then they realize, or maybe they don't, but we realize, because they love to say things like, "Oh, I'm not racist. My best friend is black." Or, "I'm not racist. My
Right.
coworker that I hang out with every day, I've got black babies. My husband, my ex-husband, my ex-boyfriend, whatever." And
Right.
they immediately start pulling out all of these things that I always say, that doesn't mean you're not racist.
Right. Because a lot of it is in their subconscious mind.
Exactly.
When I was, training on how to be a speaker, one of the symposiums that I went to for training talked about unconscious bias and how, like, if you just say something like, a guy walks into a bar, when you begin to tell that joke, you automatically think of a white guy. You don't know the guy's black until you qualify it as a black guy walks into a bar. If I say,
Or if the end of your joke is racist or something, then you know, okay, you're talking about a black guy walking in the bar, right?
right,
Yeah.
but so there are a bunch of presuppositions. If, like, for example, if I'm telling you a story and then I say, and then the doctor came in, most of us automatically assume white male.
Yeah.
I just, so many times we watch ER, you know what I'm saying? So many times we watch all these hospital shows. When we think doctor, we think white guy. So they are the presupposed background music of everything. They are the rice in the rice-a-roni. So,
Yeah.
like, it's our contrast that brings focus onto who they have been. And since they haven't resolved the whiteness part of them, they haven't resolved the guilt, the shame, they haven't resolved, like, the complicity that they have in genocide, enslavement, and apartheid, then they're uncomfortable being around you just when you show up,
Mhm.
unless they've done that work. Unless they've done that work.
That is facts. And it's got to be the willingness, I always say, to first listen.
Mhm.
So if I'm telling you that what you are doing and or saying
Right.
is racist, and I'm explaining to you why, and you're not willing to take in what I'm saying and listen, and then understand, oh, I need to do some inner work. There's some introspective work I need to do. Just like when Cory Booker was addressing this man and he was telling him, "You said this, you said this, you said this." And he's not taking none of it in,
None of
because
it.
he is very comfortable sitting in, and then as a hide behind, saying, I stand by Donald Trump's comments. Like, what? I'm talking
Right.
to you, dude. You're the one sitting here. Why are we bringing Donald Trump? I'm asking you. Those were your words. Defend your words. Stand by your words.
Right. And I think it's interesting. Like, let's talk about what set race relations really, really backwards, because the right wing and their media echo chamber gave white people a way out of guilt via deflection. There is a way out of guilt via correction, seeing the historical wrong and making it right. But they took the way out provided by right-wing media, leaving guilt via deflection. And what that echo chamber did, and Roger Ailes, if you study the beginning of Fox News, Roger Ailes founds Fox News. I believe their first year on the air is 1996. And Roger Ailes had set this in motion long before that, because he thought that the regular news was too left-leaning. He thought that regular news, Walter Cronkite, right? Just establishment of facts. This was post-Nixon era into the Reagan era, was entirely too left-leaning. He wanted an alternate reality. Why? Because he's racist and never did the work. And so he sets up Fox News, and for years, and I know this because I went undercover with white supremacists and I've listened to how they talk about right-wing media. Fox News, Rush Limbaugh, the radio sphere, long before the internet comes along, gives a laundering platform for white supremacist ideology and sets any possible race relations back in America 30, 50, now 60, 70 years. They did this on purpose. Roger Ailes did this on purpose. I'm telling you, there was a white supremacist website called Stormfront. And the son of the founders left white supremacy. During an interview, the son said that his mother and father would praise Fox News, praise them, because they were able to launder their talking points so articulately through the mouth of, at the time, Bill O'Reilly, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson. They would launder white supremacist talking points into the fearful minds of white boomers who may be losing numbers but have the money. And this is how you get Donald Trump and the whole MAGA movement and the Tea Party movement before that. So the very creation of the right-wing media apparatus is what gave us this situation we have now, along with a few other things, but definitely this.
And you get some red meat, and you get some red meat,
right?
You get some red meat. That's it. And you get
Right.
some dog whistling, and you get some
Right.
dog whistling. You know, but then, like I said, and then you have a president who, I mean, certified.
He ain't a dog whistle. He a foghorn. He is a foghorn of racism.
You know what? It's no better here. It isn't. It's no better here. I always say,
Hey, y'all got them first sons, people. What is it called? First sons up there in Canada?
Second sons. Second sons, Diagolon, Nationalist 13, you know, and they're still holding their rallies. They're just popping up all over. And, you know, they actually right now hate the liberals. They have a hate on for the liberals because the liberals, they feel, are responsible for the massive immigration crisis that's going on here, which they are. So, you know, that's probably the only thing I agree with as it relates to these groups. It's just they're going about it the wrong way because they are so stuck on the Jeremy Carl moment. It's very much this thing of you are replacing us. You people are coming in and you're wiping away the white people. And then when we complain about it, you call us racist, you know? So they're like, we need to get out there. My thing is none of that is effective. I mean,
if them very same people were from Ireland, I'm sure they wouldn't have that same complaint. If every Mexican, Venezuelan, you know what I'm saying, Arab or African, if every single one of the calories that they ate in America or Canada was being eaten by an Irishman, a Ukrainian, a Russian, I'm sure they'd be like, look at all this European diversity, right? If those were white immigrants, and we know this, because right here in America, there are 530,000 undocumented white immigrants that are not showing up in ICE facilities. Somebody explained this to me. 530,000 undocumented overstayed their visas, overstayed their green card, white, from Canada, European Union, Oceania, Australia. Nobody's rounding them up because this is about a white majority. You see,
yes, of course, it's the complexion for the protection. They want to keep that complexion strong.
They ain't rounding them up. In fact, Trump ain't got no problems with immigrants if they're European. 2 of his wives have been that.
Didn't he bring a whole host of them from South Africa? Not too long ago?
His best buddy immigrant, Mr. Musk. His best buddy is a white immigrant.
And
a white immigrant.
His wife.
His wife, Melania, is a white immigrant.
So was his ex-wife.
Look, right. Trump is a pan-Europeanist. He is a pan-Europeanist. He will show enough get him some women who are not American, but still white from the white diaspora. He ain't got no problem with that. See what I'm saying? It's not immigrants. He love him some immigrants. Most of his kids came from immigrants.
Just not the ones with the countries, that's all.
Not the asshole countries, such asshole countries. Right? I can't say it on here, but we know what he's talking about.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to go to the comments here. We got like 6 minutes. Let's see what some of them are saying. What Uncle Kel says, teach. Yes, Uncle Kel. And then Nijeknon, sorry. Exactly. We have world problems and humanity problems, and they won't be focused on their own world. Exactly. I think she's responding to when I was saying that we need to focus on the things and you in our
Right.
community, right?
Right.
And while we're doing that, minding our Black business, everybody
Right.
else is so busy,
Right.
obsessed about us just living and breathing the air that
Right.
they feel that they should be the only ones living and breathing. I keep on referring to this compound in Arkansas. Why aren't we why are they not talking about this compound? The compound is there for you. What
Go
I
ahead and go
mean,
to Arkansas. Go ahead and live. Well, what is that? I did a whole video about return to the land. Return to the land is what it's called in
that's what it's
Arkansas.
called. Yes.
We're building our own white owned communities and we don't want no colored folks around. We don't want to be around you. Go
My
ahead.
thing is, it doesn't hurt my feelings. It
Bye-bye.
doesn't. It doesn't
Bye-bye.
hurt my feelings. Actually, they were talking about that. There was a group of military men here in Canada, which I'm gonna probably report on. I just like to get more information that they had chosen an area in Quebec to completely take over, and they were going to wipe out the people there in that area and take over. They had the same ideology, which is this whole replacement. So we're going to go scope out the
So
right.
we're gonna go replace some people.
And why am I
So
not
we're gonna
surprised?
go replace some people.
Why
That's
am I not
crazy.
surprised it was Quebec? Oh, of course it was Quebec. Of course, Quebec's been trying to separate for like ever. It wasn't even when I was living there. They were trying to separate. They started with the language. They didn't want any English whatsoever. And they
Right.
try, and now you got these military people that are out here. So, it's a lot of it, and I say this and I keep saying it, a lot of it is influenced by Trump. It is.
It
There are
is.
a lot of ever-Trumpers right here in Canada that love what he stands for. They love it.
I mean,
And they
of
feel like
course.
our prime minister is not rocking for his people, those that look like him. He's rocking for the immigrants. So they have a hate on for him. They like, we need the liberals out, you know.
Look, yeah. Go ahead. Let's read some more comments.
Yeah, Child of God says, ask Cory Booker about reparations. It doesn't look like Child of God is a fan of Cory Booker. He feels like he's a hypocrite. Wow.
No, I
Well,
mean,
you
look.
know what? I will say this. Whatever you may or may not think about what Cory Booker has done or not, in this moment,
In his moment, he was on.
I'm with him.
So Cory Booker was asked about reparations, and of course, because Cory Booker has, in other senses, shown not to have the spine that we need him to have, he kind of wiggled out a bit. But one thing that he did propose when he was running for president is beneath a certain tax level, and I think that this should be based on the lineage. We should use this strategy for lineage-based reparations. Is about this bond that everybody gets when they're born into a society, and it appreciates at a certain time, and then that bond ripens to about the amount that you would have gotten in terms of inherited wealth when you were old enough to reap that mature bond. And so that's what I would put into a reparations portfolio. That's still not liquid cash, which also definitely needs to be part of a reparations portfolio. I will just say, when it comes to reparations for Black Americans, I've said this time and time again, there's actually not an argument on whether or not we are owed. By the legal statute that has been set by every reparations settlement that has ever been settled, we are owed. The scale is what scares them. The question is how much, and how much to do justice for not only the lost economic wages, but the pain and suffering at the hands of white supremacy. But there's no question that Black Americans are owed reparations based on the statute already set.
Black Americans and Black Canadians.
I believe it. Come on now.
Oh my gosh.
Half of y'all come from us anyway. You know what I'm saying? This is the brothers that kept going and kept going and kept going.
They came here.
Right.
They built these areas, and then the folks came and drove them out.
Right. Right.
Oh, thank you for all you done. Now get out of here. And
Right.
back in times, Black people didn't have much, laws or rights or anything like that. So, and also the lack of education, they didn't have deeds to the lands and things like that.
All of that. All of that.
So they came with it, and they were like, all of this paper here says you got to go. You know,
Right.
so you're right, but you're right. You're absolutely right. My final word is this. My final word is this. Look, this is to the folks, and I'm talking about the folks like the Jeremy Carls, like Donald Trumps, like the ones who have these talking points of get them out of here and all that other stuff. You just have to concede. It's really quite that simple. You just have to concede. Stop throwing all this red meat. It's not gonna, I hate red meat, by the way. But yeah, stop throwing all this red meat. It may work, but you know what? He's not gonna be around for 8 years. He's only gonna be here for 4 years.
If
And then
that.
what? He's not like he can come back again. It's a bit different in Canada. You can be prime minister for up to 10 years. So,
Wow.
oh, yes. Prime Minister Trudeau was here for 10 years before.
Yeah.
So, it's a little bit different here, the way it's structured. So, but he's not going to be around for much longer. What are y'all going to do when he's gone? And
Right.
he's not appointing people that are outstanding racists anymore.
Right.
So
And
you need to think about that.
And I think that I'm going to echo your point, Emma. It's a losing battle. They're already losing. They don't have the popularity necessary for fascism to win. When you study how fascism actually took over places, they were either at dang near 90% popularity or able to scare enough people to fake 90% popularity. They actually don't have the numbers. Not only that, but there would be a fascist honeymoon before they took over, which means that they would create economic prosperity so that the people wouldn't rise against the fascist measures. They failed to do that. And you just have too many people who are outspoken against it, and they're losing the moral high ground the more mistakes they make. So this combined means that their days are numbered, and they're really using the wrong tool for this job. Being afraid of the great replacement and acting in this way will only accelerate it.
Exactly. I think, what y'all need to focus on is your community, your people.
Right.
Stop obsessing about us because
Leave
we're
us alone.
continuing to grow.
Leave us alone.
And I think part of it is they really know the power. They know the power of us.
Right.
They know our power. They do. And
Hard to argue against that. I mean,
yeah.
So that's what I feel.
That's it. We are actually over time.
Mhm.
So we're going to love you and leave you. But, don't forget to share, like, subscribe, download the African Diaspora News Channel app. Tej and I will be back again. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. And we'll see you on the next one. We shall see you.
I'll be back. Peace.